Good morning. It is Monday, February 10th, 2025. I'm Senior Atmospheric Scientist Andrew Pritchard from Nutrien Ag Solutions. I was going to have a brief update for you today because I'm actually dealing with COVID. I got sick over the weekend, took a test yesterday morning. It was extremely positive. So kind of dealing with a bit of just a foggy brain, off and on mild fever. It's interrupted some travel plans I had. I was going to spend several days with the Colonial Division out in parts of Virginia, Maryland, and Pennsylvania. They're also going to be dealing with winter storm impacts, though, which is what segues me into the fact that I can't do a short video update today because we have a lot to talk about. Anything from winter storms number 1 across the mid-Atlantic, winter storm number 2 from the plains into the Midwest and the Great Lakes. We've got extreme cold moving into the Pacific Northwest, parts of the northern plains. We've got a risk for flooding across the Gulf Coast. Thunderstorms in parts of the Red River, and that fire risk going to be kind of ebbing and flowing across parts of the southwestern U.S. Did I miss anything? I don't think that I did. As we take a look at the big picture here, the satellite across North America, the jet stream is just screaming from west to east across the continental United States. As we just kind of take a zoomed out look here, this is the flow across the central United States. And over the next couple of days, we're going to develop a trough in the western United States. And when we do that, we get southwesterly flow across the central U.S., and we open up the Gulf of Mexico. We develop storm systems in the central and southern U.S. that then move from west to east. Let me go ahead and jump back here. We get that flow open from the Gulf of Mexico, moisture being pumped northward, interacting with those storm systems, and that's what gives us the snow on the north side, the rain and the thunderstorms on the south side in the warm sector. So those near-term weather risks, again, back-to-back winter storms this week with more to follow. An area of low pressure moving from the mid-south on Tuesday morning, offshore over the east coast of the Atlantic Ocean on Wednesday morning, but that brings a swath of heavy snow from parts of Kentucky into the mid-Atlantic. Another storm system develops in the southern plains Wednesday morning. That'll make its way into the Great Lakes by Thursday morning with a wider swath of heavy snow across portions of the high plains, the central plains into the Midwest, and eventually into the Great Lakes. So we can time that out here. This is the latest European model. We'll go ahead and bring it on back. You see the first area of low pressure developing here, kind of just a broad disturbance, not a real compact, tight area of low pressure. That means that we won't be dealing with much in the way of high winds with this one, but certainly some heavier snow, deep moisture coming up over the top of some cold air situated off to the north. So again, that fast flow, we open up the Gulf of Mexico, rain off to the south, but this is what we're concerned about right at the moment. We'll talk about the rain here later. This is Tuesday afternoon. Heavy snow in progress across parts of West Virginia, into Virginia, making its way into parts of Maryland, Delaware, eventually into southern Pennsylvania, Rhode Island, picking up on some of that heavy snow. Tuesday evening into Wednesday morning. This is where I was supposed to be, Tuesday, and then Wednesday, and then Thursday. So you can see here, it's going to be a tricky week for them, even without me there. I'll be coming to them virtually here, avoiding the winter travel, luckily. Here comes the next storm, though. Wednesday morning, we've still got rain kind of extending from storm 1 back to storm number 2, and this is going to have a much wider swath of heavy snow. First across the central plains on Wednesday morning. This is now Wednesday afternoon, Wednesday evening. This is a much more robust area of low pressure here compared to storm system number 1. So maybe more in the way of wind on the north side of this one. Not talking about, blizzard criteria, but certainly those winds could be blustery at times, gusting 15 to 25 miles per hour. This is going to be a high impact disruptive storm. Winter storm warning caliber event here, a shovelable snow, a plowable snow, and one that's going to be blowing around quite a bit as well. So here's the probability of picking up 3 inches or more of snow between now and Thursday morning. You see that first storm system through the mid-Atlantic, and then the second swath that moves from the central plains through the Midwest and on into the Great Lakes Tuesday through Wednesday. Total snow from the National Weather Service, again, we're talking about 6 to 8 inches of snow generally across the mid-Atlantic. The second storm system that moves from the plains into the Midwest, anywhere from northern Kansas to northern Missouri, northern and central Illinois, parts of southern Wisconsin, and then lower Michigan is where we're talking about 6 to 10 inches of snow, maybe some locally higher amounts. And again, that could be blowing around in some cases as well. We'll talk about the heavy rain risk across parts of the southeastern U.S. This starts on Tuesday from eastern Texas into the mid-south. We've got a slight risk for flooding. And then we've got, just got my maps out of order here. Again, we'll just blame it on the COVID brain. This is what the setup is here, though. This is the perfect setup for heavy rainfall across the southern U.S. We got the mid-level jet stream on the left, the lower-level jet stream here, the kind of the low-level jet on the right. So again, we get this southwesterly flow, this very strong southwesterly flow in the mid-levels, and the response there is to develop low pressure and southerly flow in the lower levels. We transport that Gulf moisture northward. We can animate that here. This is the precipitable water animation over the next 3 to 4 days. And again, you see that strong flow, that open Gulf of Mexico as we get through this is that Monday night, Tuesday, and now Wednesday timeframe. The front sweeps through Wednesday into Thursday, taking the moisture with it, but then we open things back up as we get into the weekend. The pattern just kind of reloads. So we'll time out those thunderstorms, and not a very high risk for severe weather, not until we get to maybe Wednesday is when we could see maybe a low risk for some strong storms here from the mid-south along that front into the Gulf Coast. We'll go ahead and just wind this back though so you can see the timing. This is Monday afternoon. This is Monday night. We start to get those showers and storms going from the Red River into the mid-south. This is Tuesday morning. Midday Tuesday, Tuesday evening. This is now Tuesday night. Here comes storm system number 2. This reinvigorates the rain across the south. This is Wednesday morning. This is now Wednesday evening. This is Wednesday night into Thursday. Squall line developing now. This could certainly pose a risk for some damaging winds, maybe embedded tornadoes with this as well. We'll talk about that, as we get a little bit closer here with more gravity or more specific if we need to. Just looking at that broad area, though, from eastern Texas into the mid-Atlantic, where we're talking about anywhere from 2 to 4 inches of rain over the next 3 days, and the pattern reloads as we get into the weekend and early next week. Just talking about the near-term flood risk, though, here's that slight risk from the Weather Prediction Center. This is day 2 on the top, day 3 on the bottom. So your Tuesday, Wednesday risk, again, just slowly kind of moving off to the east with that storm system. Talk about the fire risk in the southwest, an elevated risk today across parts of New Mexico. The setup here is we just kind of bring storm systems in. We just kind of reload the southwesterly flow that comes in across the desert southwest. It's dry and it's windy across parts of southern California, getting into Arizona and New Mexico, parts of northern Mexico, and at times portions of western Texas. Again, the risk today focused on parts of central and southwestern New Mexico. Tomorrow, we expand that risk into southeastern portions of Arizona, southern New Mexico, southwestern New Mexico, seeing that critical risk, and then portions of western Texas in that elevated risk as well Tuesday with those windy, dry conditions. Last thing I want to hit is the extreme cold in the Pacific Northwest, the northern plains, the Canadian prairies, spilling into the upper Midwest as we get deeper into the week. We'll talk about the perfect setup for cold air. Again, ridging in the Gulf of Alaska, that flow in the jet stream comes through the Arctic and straight into the prairie, kind of feeding into the developing trough here across the western U.S. So you just follow the trajectory of the jet stream, and it is straight out of the Arctic, right through Canada, into the northwestern U.S. So this is where we currently have those extreme cold warnings in dark blue, and then the cold weather watches here across parts of northern California, the Pacific Northwest, and then all the way into parts of the upper Midwest, northern Minnesota and northern Wisconsin there as well. We'll just kind of look at where we've got those overnight lows forecast over the next few days. And then where you see a white box over the forecast low temperature, that's where we have the forecast low actually potentially getting into record-breaking territory. So potential record cold across portions of the northwest U.S. today and tomorrow. Those overnight lows, again, in the teens across parts of the Pacific Northwest, much, much colder as you get to the east side of the Rocky Mountains. That's what we're talking about, overnight lows 20 to 25 below zero. This is your overnight lows Tuesday night into Wednesday morning. Again, parts of, the higher elevations of the Pacific Northwest seeing that extreme cold, even the valleys seeing those overnight low temperatures in the teens, getting into record-breaking territory. And then we'll jump over to the central U.S. here. This is your Monday night, Tuesday morning overnight low temperatures, and then this is your Tuesday night, Wednesday morning overnight low temperatures. And as we just look big picture, I'll play the European model. There's storm 1, there's storm 2. Here comes potential storm number 3 over the weekend as this pattern just continues to reload. Total precipitation over the next 15 days on the left, and then total snowfall forecast by the European ensemble on the right over the next 15 days. Multiple storm systems coming in from west to east across the continental U.S. Didn't really talk much about the precipitation impacts in the western U.S. We'll talk about that more in our updates as we go through the week, but we have the potential to get some significant rainfall and some snow in the higher elevations across much of the western U.S. that would be badly needed. And then the other story as we make your way off to the east is going to be the reloading heavy rainfall pattern across the southern U.S., pushing toward an increasing risk for flooding across the southern U.S. here as we get into mid and late February. And as we continue to see these storm systems racing across the region, look for the snowfall to continue to stack up across portions of the Central Plains, the Midwest, the Great Lakes, into the Mid-Atlantic and the northeastern U.S. Unfortunately, even with all the cold air, the Canadian Prairie, snow is going to continue to be light at best over the next 7 to 10 days. We'll talk more about that Wednesday morning. We'll get back into a flow with the Canadian Prairie updates as well. Have a great Monday. I hope you're feeling better than I am today. Hope you're ready for some high-impact weather over the next 10 to 15 days.